Welcome to the Four Bodies podcast.
Anyway, Dave, we should welcome everybody to the Four Birdies podcast. Are you ready to do this?
Yeah, I just think you should change your tag because we were talking about growing the show, and I was going to be the grower, and you were going to be the guy that shows the stuff. So
Yeah,
you were going to
okay.
be the shower, and
Okay.
I'm the grower.
Yeah, that.
Because we're talking about the content and the channel, right?
Right. Yep. Sounds good. Okay. And we're live, Dave. And we're live.
We're doing it live.
We're doing it live. Yeah, we're doing it live.
Oh, you spelled it wrong. It's supposed to be shower, not birthday boy. And your birthday was yesterday. You can't take credit for it today.
Well, we didn't record yesterday, Dave. So I would give you a whole week. Why don't people do birthday weeks? Because I don't need a whole week.
People do birthday weeks. It's typically the fairer sex that does the whole birthday week. The guys don't do it as much, but if you want to do it, that's fine.
I don't want to do it.
Okay. Well, happy belated birthday. I wish you happy birthday yesterday, but happy birthday again.
Thank you, Dave. And for the record, my birthday is January 2nd, 1984, and I just turned 40 years old. So this is what a 40-year-old looks like. This, sitting on your couch with your brand behind you, talking to your best bud.
Oh, you're talking about me?
I am, Dave. Yeah, I'm being
Oh
serious.
my goodness.
For 10 seconds of my life. So, well, here's to. I think we've done 40 some shows already. So here's to 40 more times 4. So whatever.
I would hope that we do hundreds, if not thousands, or tens of thousands of shows.
Yes, I would as well. So, Dave, I want to wish everybody a happy new year. The new year's just rolled around, and like we were talking about, it was my birthday. So very exciting times. It's 2024. Here's to hope. Here's to optimism. Here's to getting along with the people around you and not being so divided by the most simplest of things, and finding every little crack and crevice to determine why somebody is wrong and why you don't agree with them. So we all have things that we disagree about. Dave, you and I disagree about a lot of stuff. What do you think?
I don't think so. I think we get along really great.
And that's exactly it, Dave. That's a great example of how we really can't agree on much. Everybody out there, take some deep breaths in 2024. Hug one another. Be nice. Happy thoughts. Smile. Life's too short. Cheers.
Good speech.
Thank you, Dave. Anything that you want to say about the new year before we jump into this top 4?
Don't put too much pressure on yourself to fix everything all at once. If you have a few New Year's resolutions, make them realistic and attainable. You don't want to aim too high and get discouraged and not follow through. So, at this point, you probably know yourself. Just try to be better every day. Just
Cool,
a little
I
bit
love
better
it.
every day.
Cool. I love it. Dave, let's talk about the top 4. What are we doing tonight? What are we talking about? You always surprise me. I feel like I never know what's going on.
I want to talk about week 17. I know it might be old news for some people, but if you were in the championship or even just watching from the sidelines, it was a very interesting week to say the least. Lots of guys blew up on your, for your team and scored a ton of points, but there's a lot of guys that fell short and probably caused you to lose a championship. So I want to talk about the top 4 players that totally destroyed week 17, which is championship week for most leagues.
And your life. So let's get into it, Dave. Who's number 4? Who you got there?
Number 4 is a player that was probably drafted in the first round. You pretty much had to draft him in the first round if you really wanted him. A guy that's been the top performer at his position for years and years, just a perennial stud. This was the worst year that I can think of for this guy, and he picked the worst time to have a bad week. We're talking Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce. He had 3 receptions for 16 yards. So in most PPR leagues, that would end up being 4.6 points. Woo. Now, this has been a down year for him. He's number 4 right now because compared to tight ends, that's not awful. And he hasn't been, doing super well. So it's not a huge surprise that he didn't perform great. 4.6 points. I mean, he did let you down. And if you had him on your team, you were probably depending on that production and you didn't get it. So that's why he's number 4 on the list.
And you can't just pull him out. You got to play your studs. You can't sit your studs. Now, is there some kind of effect that's going on from the Taylor curse? Is there something that's going on there with him? Is she kind of stealing his magic, his mojo, maybe, you think?
I don't want to speculate their relationship and the effect that, she's having on him on the field, but he is getting up there in age. I know Mahomes has struggled. The offense has struggled. I don't think it's entirely Taylor Swift's fault, but I feel like maybe he's a little bit distracted, and it's just disappointing for Travis Kelce because of his draft capital. If he was any other tight end, 4.6 points from your tight end, not a big deal. But if it's from Kelsey, who's your top pick, it's going to destroy you. So I don't know if he's going to bounce back next year. He said he wants to play football till the wheels fall off. It seems like the wheels are falling off right now a little bit.
He's a bum. He's a sellout. He'll do anything for money. Dave, let's move on to number 3.
So number 3 is a player that we mentioned before as being somewhat of a disappointment. And if you got to the championship with this running back, I'm proud of you for finding a way to overcome his constant underperformance. He missed a lot of games due to injury. He had a lot of duds out there. He sprinkled in some good games here and there, which would probably sucker you into thinking, okay, he's going to perform for me now that I need him the most. In week 17, you put him in your lineup. I'm talking about Chargers running back Austin Eckler. He had 46 rushing yards, 1 reception, and a lost fumble. That knocks him down to 4 total points in week 17. Terrible. And he was also a guy that if you had him, you probably got him in the first round. I don't see him slipping past the first round to the second. Maybe you got him in a trade when he was injured. But either way, he should have been your RB1. But 4 points in the championship, you probably lost if you had him in your lineup. And he's one of those players, you almost can't call him a stud anymore. I think next year, he's probably going to go round 3. Maybe at this point. He's aging. His contract situation's up in the air. I don't know what team he's going to play for next year. He was a great player in his prime, but this could be the beginning of the end for Austin Eckler.
Dave, we don't have all night. Let's get to number 2.
Number 2 is a player that had teased you weeks 15 and 16. Week 15, he had 22.1 points. In week 16, he had 25 points. So if you rode him to the championship, there's no reason to think he's going to let you down now. So you probably had him in your lineup. And he's a wide receiver that I mentioned before. He had some down games. He missed some games. We're talking Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins. He got 1 catch for 19 yards. So 2.9 points in the championship. If he was in your starting lineup, he probably sank your battleship.
Yikes. That is terrible. Limited by a hamstring injury.
Correct. So we're not sure. I'm not sure if the performance was injury related, but he had a lingering hamstring injury for most of the year. But prior 2 weeks was fine, was cleared to play. It's hard to say if he was limited from the hamstring injury or if he aggravated it during the game or what. But, a lot of people did put him in their lineup and he rewarded you with 1.9 points. So just terrible, 2.9 points.
Yeah, Dave. Well, let me tell you, as somebody who won his fantasy league this year, the only one that he played, the 1-for-1, and I've considered retiring as you've suggested. I want to say that every team has 1 or 2 guys who's going to be a dud and they're not going to put up consistently good numbers and you're going to get frustrated. You're going to feel like you got burned by them, but you have to have enough players on your team and you have to just keep stockpiling players even at the margins. If they're just marginally good, look at the number performance that they're doing throughout the season. See where they're ranked. If you can get somebody at a value who's maybe the 80th point performer right now and they're available right there, then you just got to steal right there. And that could be a huge piece that helps you win it at the very end. So all I got to say is that these 3 players, 4th being Kelsey, 3rd being Eckler, 2nd being T. Higgins, if you're a fantasy manager, you got to play through it. Dave, who's number 1 already?
To your point, you can't really play through it with these guys because this was the last week. This was the championship week. They all let you down, but I get what you're saying. To sum up what you're saying, a tip for your mom is always be on the lookout to improve your team, even if it's a little bit at a time. If you can do a trade or pick up a free agent or do a waiver claim or bid on a player.
And if you're deeper, then it's better.
That's what they say. I'm going to move on to number 1 here. So number 1 is a running back who wasn't projected to be a top running back and got off to a slow start. He had some amazing weeks, and you know who I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say who it is quite yet, but I'm going to say in the championship week when you needed him the most, he got 5.3 points. It was 43 rushing yards and he had a reception. So 5.3 points from what would probably be your RB1, maybe at worst RB2. He's a guy that you're going to start every single week. And we're talking about Lions running back Jahmyr Gibbs. He's a rookie.
Jameer
Okay.
Gibbs, huh? You got
Jameer Gibbs
Jameer
is
Gibbs
number one because the
You got him number
expectations
one.
the
Come
expectations are
on,
so high.
Dave.
He
This
took you
is
to the championship. You have to put him in. You were expecting probably 20 points out of him, and he got 5.3 points.
come
That's a
on,
major
Dave. This
letdown.
is
The reason he's
nonsense.
number one is because he's been so consistently great from like the midweeks on that he took you by surprise. Now with Kelsey, you kind of knew he was struggling a little bit. Eckler, you knew he was struggling. T.
Come on.
Higgins, yeah, I mean he's probably not he's not your number one wide receiver, which is why I had T. Higgins ranked number two. But Jameer Gibbs totally blindsided managers.
He's a
And
rookie.
he's a rookie, but week 17 championship performance-wise, he totally let you down. And I love him as a player. He's got great potential. I would draft him again in redraft. I would try to acquire him in Dynasty. He's going to be a great running back for years to come. And it's nothing against the Lions, nothing against Jameer Gibbs. He just had a down week at the worst possible time, and that's why he's number one on the list.
Hey, Dave, you are our commish. You are the commish of the league, and you established the playoffs and when they began and at what week. And you said he had defaulted. That was the default. Most leagues ended this past week, but our fantasy league ended after
Week 16, and that saved your butt because
Yeah,
if we
you
had
sure
done it
bet
week
your butt it
17,
did. You
yeah,
sure bet your butt it did because that game Gibbs put up 24 points, and it's not like he's putting up 40 points or anything, but he had put up 20 some points every week. He put up 24 the week before. He put up 17 the week before. He put up 6 the week before that. That was 13. Week 12, he was 11 points. Week 11, he had a good breakout game, 21 points. And so and then week 10, he was 26 points. Week 9, I didn't play him. They had to buy, but 26, 24, 17, those are all good numbers.
For you, with our league, week 16, he was a championship stud, but week 17 championship, he was a dud. And every league's different. I've seen championships as early as week 15 and as late as week 18. And just a little side note, if you're in a league right now that your championship is week 18, that's the worst thing ever. Don't do it. I've heard ESPN defaults to week 18, which is terrible because half the teams are, their playoff life's over. They're either resting their starters or they're just on a
Lamar
snap
Jackson
count.
isn't playing this weekend.
So many players are not playing at all in week 18. So if your fantasy league goes on to week 18, you're in the wrong league or somebody made a massive mistake. I do want to mention 3 quick honorable mentions here of guys that let you down in week 17 in the championship. And one of them's a surprising running back who performed great almost all year. As soon as he came back, he missed the first couple games, but we're talking Saints running back Alvin Kamara. Now, he didn't make the list. He just made the honorable mentions because he still put up 6.9 points and he only played in the first half because he got injured. So you can't really hold that against him. He didn't put up a goose egg. He was a no-brainer start on every single roster. There's no way you're benching Alvin Kamara. Hopefully, he didn't destroy your chances of winning that final game with 6.9 points, but just an off game for him, just a fluke, just played the first half. So, like I said, he's on the list, but he's an honorable mention. The next honorable mention is a guy that's struggled at the quarterback position. If you got him, you probably overdrafted him. There's no way he fell to you at the round that his performance has warranted. You probably got him in like the second or third or maybe fourth round. And we're talking Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes, 14 points in standard leagues. That's awful. From a quarterback of his talent level,
he needs to put up 30. He needs to put up 31. He needs to put up at least 25. He can't put up 14.
Yeah. 2023 has been the worst year for Patrick Mahomes fantasy-wise, and I think it's going to really turn people away from drafting him early next year. And I don't know if he'll bounce back or not. He probably will, and maybe you'll find a way to get him in a later round, and maybe he'll return to form. But right now, like he's pretty much struggled all year. And maybe that's why Kelsey hasn't been playing well. But anyway, he's an honorable mention. And the last honorable mention I have on here is Buffalo Bills running back James Cook. 5.8 points in the championship. He's been a stud, and he's had some huge games. Once the Bills figure out, like, hey, we can run the ball with this guy, he's performed great. So he didn't make the top 4 because he hasn't consistently been great every week. But towards the playoffs, like, you're going to start him. You have to start him. And he kind of screwed you up by getting 5.8 points. So those are our honorable mentions. And, we've already said the top 4. If you have somebody that we missed or that you disagree with, comment it. I'd like to hear your opinion. Who
Oh, can
screwed
I
you
comment right now? Can I comment right now? Is that okay? Because
You can comment right now, but I'd like people to comment which players besides the ones that we mentioned totally screwed you in your championship game and caused you to lose the championship.
okay, well, I want to mention right now that your list is terrible. Your list isn't terrible, it's just not accurate. And I don't want to call you an idiot, Dave. I apologize for that, and I think you're a great friend, like I said at the top of the show, and you're a dear friend. So I don't want to call you an idiot. It's a new year, a new way of looking at things. So I hope you'll forgive what I'm saying here, Dave.
I don't need to forgive anything because you haven't crossed the line, and I'm a big boy and I can take it. But I want to just ask you, what about the list didn't you like? Who would you put in place of those top 4 and honorable mentions?
Okay, well, I'm gonna take the 7 that you laid out here, and I'm gonna say Mahomes has got to be 4. Put him there. T. Higgins is number 3. I'd put sellout Travis Kelsey at number 2, and then I would put Eckler at number 1. That's where I put it.
You would, because you've done no research, and I'll tell you why I ranked the guys I did. With Eckler, he's been struggling. So if you put him in your lineup, there's a good chance he's going to let you down. So that's why he's not number 1, even though he totally underperformed. You knew it. And with Kelsey, you could kind of see it coming a little bit. And with Mahomes, you could see it coming a little bit. And I'll tell you why. I'm in a dynasty league, and the guy that has Mahomes benched him 2 weeks in a row in the playoffs, and it ended up being the right call both times.
Flacco?
That's pretty ballsy. That's a different guy. It's pretty ballsy to bench Mahomes, but he did it 2 weeks in a row, and it ended up being the right call for him twice in a row. It takes a lot of courage to bench a stud like Mahomes, but he did it. He lost the both times he benched him, but he did net more points as a result. So that's why Mahomes isn't more highly ranked, because 14 points from a quarterback isn't like the equivalent of a running back getting 5 points. So you kind of knew it was going to happen. You knew it was going to happen with Mahomes. You knew he wasn't going to, ball out, because he hasn't been balling out all year. So that's why I came up with this ranking system.
And I think you're not completely wrong in the whole thing. I think you've got unfortunately, some great people are on this sad list. But to put Jahmyr Gibbs at number 1, now that's where it hurts. So it's probably just coming from a place of pain. Dave, I've got some producers chirping in my ear. We got to wrap this baby out.
Let's wrap it up, everybody. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Fore Birdies podcast, where we focus on the top 4 players that ruined your life.
Yeah.
And catch us again on the next episode of Fore Birdies.
Fore Birdies. If you haven't already, then like and subscribe. See ya. Bye.